So I'm quite sure that this video will flop horribly because it doesn't seem like there's too many Avenged Sevenfold fans in my audience. But f it, they're my favourite band, and sometimes you've just got to make content for yourself, you know? So I'm afraid there's no memes or shouting or jumping around my room in this video. I just wanted to take a few minutes just to chill and talk to you guys about this album because honestly, it's something else. Like, it's phenomenal. So I finally got to hear it yesterday, and I've actually lost count now of how many times I've listened to it all the way through. Probably at least like 6, 7, 8 times now, or something like that. And I can confidently say that it's easily the best thing the band has ever done, and it's probably the best new album I've heard in years. I can't even remember the last time I heard an album that had like such an instant, profound effect on me. It's honestly at the same level as the first time I heard Rust in Peace, Master of Puppets, In the Court of the Crimson King, Absolution for the first time. But I'll be honest with you guys, if you're into Avenged Sevenfold predominantly for like the metal stuff, like the riffs and the solos and all that, you're probably not going to like this album. Not to say there isn't any of that stuff, because there's certainly no shortage of great riffs and amazing solos on this album. But don't go into it expecting another City of Evil or Waking the Fallen, because you will be sorely disappointed. But for me, personally, this band has always been way more than that. In my opinion, they are absolute master songcrafters, and they have a much, much better grasp of things like songwriting, arrangement, melody, harmony, than the vast majority of bands out there. So if you're like me and you appreciate them on that level, then you're gonna absolutely love this shit, trust me. This album is prog in the truest sense of the word. You know, it's not just a bunch of mindless tech stuff with like aimless 15-minute songs and like countless time signature changes. This shit is actually progressive in a way that you don't really hear very often. This is by far the band's darkest album yet. I mean, if you thought Nightmare was dark, then holy shit, like this is on a whole new level. The album seems to follow a consistent theme of all of the songs being about death, suicide, the mundanity of life, existentialism, AI, all that cheery stuff. And it's not just the lyrical themes themselves that make it dark. It's the fact that the lyrical themes are often offset by completely contrasting instrumentation. And when I say contrasting, I mean contrasting, because honestly, the amount of musical ground this album covers is insane. Over the course of this record, you hear moments of Queen, Beach Boys, Pantera, Faith No More, Daft Punk, Frank Sinatra, Chopin, Kanye West, everything you can imagine. And it's just something about the way in which these really, really dark, grim, heavy lyrical themes mesh with these eclectic, contrasting musical styles that it's just like deeply unsettling. It's really hard to explain. I guess the best way I can describe it is like, you know, in horror movies where you have a really scary, suspenseful scene, but the music being played is like very sort of contrasting, and it makes the atmosphere like quite unsettling. I guess like in Insidious where they use, is it Tiptoe Between the Tulips or whatever it's called, that Tiny Tim song? You know, that sort of thing. And unlike some other bands, like say Sleep Token, for example, who combine genres, in my opinion, in like a really uninteresting, surface level way. But on this album, Avenged Sevenfold traverse between genres in such a stimulating, creative, interesting way that on paper it just really shouldn't work, but it does. And I guess if you listen to some of these songs in isolation, they're gonna sound a bit random and off-kilter, and a bit like, you know, what the fuck are they doing? That sounds stupid. And I'm gonna sound like a complete vinyl hipster now, but if you listen to the whole thing as like one, you know, continuous big experience, then it really becomes clear what they were trying to achieve with this album. And there really is, for lack of a better word, a vibe that ties this whole thing together, surprisingly, into one cohesive package. And that's what I adore about this album, is that it's made me slow down and listen to a complete piece of music again as a whole, like I used to when I was younger. So I know we all have absolutely terrible attention spans in this day and age, and we're all guilty of skipping through albums, you know, in a piecemeal fashion to find our favorite bits. So it's been super refreshing to once again experience a record which pretty much demands that you listen to it from front to back. I guess the best comparison I can make about this album is that it's a bit like watching one of those, like, arty, cult, mindfuck films, like Donnie Darko, Mulholland Drive, Enemy, you know the ones. You know what, after watching it, you're like, what the fuck just happened? That was super confusing, but you feel somewhat compelled to, like, keep going back to it, to try and figure it out bit by bit and, like, pick up on little details that you might have missed the first time. And it's really been like that with this album. I keep coming back to it over and over again, trying to, like, you know, delve deeper into, like, the lyrics and, like, what's going on and all these layers of, like, dense instrumentation. Right, so I'm gonna get a little bit sappy now, so my apologies. But honestly, guys, this is the first album in a long, long time which actually made me feel something. The whole thing has this kind of dreamy, otherworldly quality to it, which really takes you places if you let it. And I'm not gonna lie, the ballad on the album, Cosmic, you know, it genuinely made this grown-ass man choke up a little bit. It's so damn sad. And I think the reason for that, or at least a big part of it, is the mixing of the album. It has a real, like, genuine, organic, real quality to it. So for the remainder of the video, I'm going to give you a quick overview of each song and show you some of the coolest moments from them.
It holds in place my plastic bones. It's a beautiful day. Wash my face, put my bedroom back in its place.
I really hope you guys will give this thing a shot because it's one hell of a ride. And in my opinion, one of the best bloody albums released in decades. But what do you think of this album? Do you think it's a masterpiece? Or do you think it's a load of, like, pretentious, arty claptrap? Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I shall see you again very soon.